What was your major at University of Arkansas?
So at the University of Arkansas, I actually was studying economics and finance. I went to school, I initially thought I'd be a lawyer. That was kind of what I was thinking about, but I was always interested in writing and got interested in film as well. But when I was there, despite taking a bunch of writing classes and kind of having a writing mentor there, I was really on the business side and just sort of pushed that, I think, about as far as I could, which was to graduate, and then I had to decide to pivot and do something else.
What type of law did you want to go into?
I don't know that I really knew. I'd done debate in high school. I liked the idea of figuring things out and, arguing and that kind of thing. And it just seemed like, oh, that would be a fun but stable career.
What was your vision for your life while you were there at University of Arkansas? Did you have sort of a grand picture of what you wanted to do?
I mean, I guess when I decided to go to film school, at that point it would be like, okay, the grand vision is be a director, be a writer-director, and just go for that. I think before that, I always felt like I was still making films, I was still writing, and I thought, I'll have a job, I'll have a career, and I'll try and see what can I do on the side, And at a certain point, I just got to the point where I had to accept that I wasn't going to give 100% to anything else, And so I just had to go for this thing that was occupying all my time anyway, which was movies and trying to make movies and writing movies. And I figured, okay, at least if I give 100% to this, maybe it'll work out.
What changed at Arkansas that brought you to Los Angeles instead?
So, I mean, a big part of it was I was making more movies. I was gaining, confidence in my ability as a writer, not necessarily only in screenwriting, but also in prose, and starting to feel like it was something I wanted to be doing all the time and that I was getting a handle on it. I would say really the big thing it was really two things. One, I was seeing how much more effort my friends in the business school were putting in, and they were doing internships and they were even making money and things like that at their jobs, and I had no interest in putting any more time into it. So I was already starting to see, okay, I'm falling behind here in this category I'm supposed to be trying to excel in, right? And then I also just, I had my girlfriend at the time, who we ended up being in LA too for a long time, still a good friend. She was going to go to University of Austin, or University of Texas at Austin, for acting school, for an MFA. And when she first talked about that, I just thought that she was crazy, to pursue this. It was so unstable and so unlikely, no matter how good you are, the odds are really stacked against you. And even just that little kind of glimmer of, wow, someone really is going to do that? That seems both brave and crazy at the same time. I think planted the seed for me, well, I guess people do this. And more films I watched here and there, I would start to see from a director that they maybe had a short film, maybe they went to NYU or USC or somewhere like that. One reason too I didn't want to pursue film or writing or anything like that was I just had this sense, and I think most people have a sense like this, of, writers or directors, they come from New York or LA, and they sort of have to be there and start there, and I was coming from Arkansas, it felt very far away, and very much like no matter when I started, I would be behind, the people that maybe grew up in the industry or what have you. But I did start to see, when I'd look up directors, like an indie film, look it up, someone's first feature, and you'd see maybe on IMDb that they went to USC or they went to NYU or a school like that. And I started thinking, okay, maybe there is something to this. Maybe there is like a path that is easier from there, or a way to get some footing at a school like that. And that was kind of where that idea of maybe I should go to grad school, which had never been a plan. It had always been just learn on my own, do it on my own, but thinking that could be a way to try and get myself more inside of the industry, or at least like inside a community of people that I didn't have in Arkansas.
What did your professor in Arkansas teach you about writing?
I had a writing mentor who I had my third semester in Arkansas, Molly Giles, who was a fiction writer, prose writer. And she was, amazingly intelligent person, sharp-witted person, Pulitzer Prize nominee. And really, after her class, even after I left the English program, she would read some of my writing, give notes, things like that, all like short stories, that kind of thing. And I think really what the big thing, one was just gaining confidence of just the fact that she was willing to do that, you know, and continue that, and to say to me, you know, like, you do have something, like you should consider pursuing this, without being pushy about it, because you know, she knows how hard that life is. And I think one thing that I really learned, and I might not even have learned it until really in retrospect, but I remember the moment, is just sort of her analysis of things that I wrote, like her perspective on it, because even when they were fiction, I'm pulling all kinds of things from my life, you know? And so she would have her analysis that came through in the writing, like things that came through in the writing that weren't the focus of what I was trying to write about, but very much were there thematically. And what I took away from that was the sense, and what I try to apply to my writing now, is that I'm not trying to like think of a theme, like a singular theme or something that I want to put out there and have it be about. I want to try and stay open, explore the writing, explore where it takes me, and then try and take a step back and see, well, what is the work doing, or what am I doing, you know, or my co-writer doing behind the scenes, that then could be kind of excavated, you know, and brought to light a little bit more in terms of the themes and the meaning and all of that. So finding that balance, I guess, between just being kind of stream of consciousness and not limiting yourself or editing yourself, and then later trying to get a sense of, okay, but what is really happening here?
And you've brought up a couple times the notion of having a hard life being an artist, which is absolutely true. I'm not sure law is easier in other respects. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of hours. Sometimes you don't see your family. But there's a prestige, and it's kind of like this safe route. Did anybody talk you out of wanting to leave law school?
Not really, you know. Honestly, people were pretty accepting of, you know, like my parents and everyone. I know it was something that they would have thought and did think was like risky and hard, but they were supportive, you know, kind of more immediately supportive than I thought. I thought it would be more of not an argument necessarily, but more back and forth and discussion. But I kind of laid it out the way I talked about here, which was I just knew this was the only thing I was ever going to give my all to. And so, you know, with law school, I never even got to the point. I didn't even take the LSAT. It was kind of like the last 2 years really leading up, I was saying, okay, I don't think I'm going to do this. And so there weren't really that many other options. I did apply for jobs, you know, business-oriented jobs and things like that, using my finance degree, economics degree. And I always went in not really hoping I wouldn't get it or get called back again. And luckily nothing tried to pull me away.
What made you fall in love with storytelling?
You know, I think with storytelling, there were things that I just really loved as a kid. Like I loved Jurassic Park and like the Aliens franchise. I was able to watch that younger than I should have. And just, I loved all these worlds, and I loved these characters and all these things that happened. And right away, I wanted to make my own versions of it, you know, and come up with my own versions of it. And it was honestly a way of entertaining myself. When I was younger, I would just kind of pace around and think up stories and think up variations of things that, you know, could happen to these characters from these movies I loved. And then from there, pretty quickly, it was a feeling of like, well, I could make my own thing. You know, I could write my own thing. And I wrote a novel when I was in elementary school. It was a 250-page novel, typed novel. And just every day I just worked on it, and I just thought it was so fun to do that.
I saw your movie Finding Gracie, is that it? Or
Losing
Gracie,
yeah,
okay. Yeah. I watched it on your Vimeo. That was excellent. That was at Holly Shorts?
Yeah. Losing Gracie is kind of, I would consider it almost like my first like professionally made, you know, dramatic film. And that was a really cool experience, you know, really quickly out of school, working with Michael Bofshever, who's the lead actor and an actor who's always come up in a few other of my works, and just a great character actor. And yeah, that was a really cool experience because it was about trying to take something that on paper was very simple in terms of how it could be shot. You know, if you wanted to, you could have two people sit down at a table and just have all the lines play out, you know? And that exercise of trying to figure out how to make it cinematic, you know, and find the mood and find the drama and the tension and the movement and all of that was a really cool thing that we took on together. Steve, Armour, the writer, Michael, and me. Yeah.
And he was from USC as well?
Yeah, so Steve was from USC, the writer, and Michael had taught a few times something like acting for the screenwriter, something like that, like a class, or writing for the actor, something like that, which was, he was an actor teaching screenwriters how to, you know, better their craft from the perspective of what an actor needs or an actor wants to look for in a role. So then the three of us just kind of linked up and decided we're gonna make a short.
Yes, it's super powerful, and it's just two characters and sort of numerous locations within one little area. But yeah, it was extremely compelling. So,
and I guess it shows. I mean, moving ahead or moving forward in this business, it's always one little thing leads to one little thing leads to one little thing. You know, and that short, which we all thought was very strong and very good. You know, it had the life it had in festivals and things like that, but there's only so far you really go with it. But it kept, it kind of impressed wherever it was. And so then from there, a casting director that I knew a very little bit through my girlfriend that I mentioned from Arkansas, she had seen the short, Liz Barnes, and she was also from Arkansas. And she said she'd really liked the short, and you know, said if you ever want me to cast something for you, I would cast something for you for free, you know. And then I'd sent her a script, and a couple years later, I ended up making a different short called Shelter, that was with Clea Duvall, and you know, Liz got me her, and you know, Clea was kind of the first, you know, someone who had been very famous, you know, in the '90s in a lot of these big movies, and kind of the first time I worked with somebody like that. And there's just sort of these steps, kind of, you keep moving forward, and it was off of Shelter that I got really my first feature. And so you just sort of have to keep putting in the work, I feel like, and trying to elevate yourself and your craft however you can, and just do your best to have people see it and share it, and hopefully someone says, okay, why don't we take it to the next level next time? Obviously, it always starts with the writing and actors and going from there.